Hello, and thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the She Means Business podcast, where we bring together badass women business owners, industry leaders, and other aspiring women to celebrate their success and empower you. I am your host, Ashley Mistowski. I'm a business owner, wife, and mom of twin toddlers. Ambitious is my middle name. Join our email list and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. You'll find inspiring content, updates, and the chance to connect with like-minded individuals. Remember to leave a review and share how we've inspired you. Now, let's get to business. Hello, and welcome to the She Means Business podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Mistowski. Today, I was introduced by a client of mine, actually a mutual client, to this individual who moved from the Colorado area, and it was instant, like, I have to have her on my podcast. This is awesome. So she is moving and shaking things up in Colorado, but she can help women or anybody really across all 50 states, but she is targeting women in finances and doing some amazing things. So I'm excited for you guys to learn more about her today. And I also fell in love with the name of her business and her mission, of course. So let's just dive right in. Welcome Molly Berger of Queen City Wealth. Hey, Molly.
Hi, Ashley. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, of course. I'm so glad we could get on here. You guys don't know, but she was super flexible, part of the wonderful job of being a mom. My daughter was, I think the day that we were scheduled initially to do this, I had to take her to the ER, fell and hurt herself. Great. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, but I'm sitting in the ER. So thank you for being flexible on that. But I'm excited to have you. So, let's kind of just dive in and talk about your history and how you got to where you are.
Yes, I would love to. So I can give you my whole long and winding.
Let's do it. We have hours.
Okay. Well, yeah, sorry. I'll being long-winded is kind of my thing. So let me know, if it's too much. But really, I'm born and raised in Denver. I went to college in Southern California. So as a,
nice change of pace.
Yeah, high school senior, I was like, I am out of here. I wouldn't even consider a school.
So let's go to Southern Cal. How can we get any different?
LA, here I come. So I went to a very small liberal arts college, which I loved, but really didn't have the education just by means of like what I studied and the kind of school environment that I was in to really understand much about the business world, which is funny because both of my parents are small business owners, entrepreneurs, and I've always been a little entrepreneur myself. Even as a child, I just sort of didn't recognize it in myself at that age.
And I think with entrepreneurs, like you go to college and college has really good things to learn, right? But I think it's really hands-on being in it that you really learn the most.
Life,
right?
Yeah.
Yes, life.
which is really a lot of a big part of my story and like how I came to found Queen City and even get involved in the financial services world too. So I went to college and really very adamant on having a career with impact. I just thought, man, I'm going to work for a long time and I care about a lot of communities and issue areas and things kind of going on in our world. And I want to make sure that my work matters and I have an impact and I'm, working for the betterment of the issues or people that I cared about. So to me, that meant I go into nonprofit. Like that meant there's one choice and that's nonprofit and everything else means you don't care or you don't have an impact. You're greedy, it's corporate, it's sort of all that. So I really didn't have an understanding of reality, basically. So I started a nonprofit. I was very passionate about that space. I have a master's in nonprofit management and spent a lot of time in that space at different organizations, serving different missions or issue areas, and kind of came through that experience and then some personal lived experience too of learning that money is really the only thing that talks in this world. And if I really wanted to be part of the conversation and direct the conversation to these issues, or communities I cared about, I just had to understand money. And that is even true in the nonprofit world, right? Like no organization can fulfill their mission unless they have the funding or financing or means to do so, right? So it's still important.
It is the hub of all things, right?
Right. Yeah. Even though it's like a not for profit, or you don't want to care about money, or, sort of thing. Or maybe you're just not, the positions in those organizations don't have the same titles. Like no one's a salesperson at a nonprofit, even though in the different roles I had, I was selling memberships or selling events or selling our cause, right? And trying to garner support for it. So, so I started working with small business owners, entrepreneurs, investors, kind of got more involved in that space, especially I moved back to Denver after my stint in Southern California, and I was involved in sort of the startup innovator entrepreneur culture and community here, and just learned more and more, and was like, I want to learn more about money. Money is what talks, and particularly in finance and how businesses are getting financed. And there's lots of businesses that do have a mission and do care about their impact and are trying to solve problems that I cared about for communities or issues that I cared about. They just were doing it with a different business model than the nonprofit world was. So I was inspired to, change my industry, and for some sounds like a hard pivot into finance, but that was the inspiration. I was like, I want to continue to make an impact, and this is what I see with what I'm learning and the experiences I've had, where I can really make an even bigger impact than I've been able to in the nonprofit space. So I was at a number of different finance companies and in different roles, and saw the opportunity really for myself. I was looking for a financial advisor who could help me just with personal financial planning, like, how do I save money? Am I on track for retirement? How do I pay off my student loans? How do I become a homeowner? All these things that were very timely, important in my world, and were like all of my friends or colleagues were talking about as well. And there was just no one that I got introduced to that I felt comfortable with, that was a woman, that was sort of like around my age, that understood my life or lifestyle, or that my values were really important to me and I wanted those honored in my financial plan.
Yeah. Well, and financial advising is really a personal, like, extremely. You are finding everything out about me. Like, you are seeing my goals, my dreams, my debt, you're seeing everything.
My
so you
family
really want
history,
to be
traumas. Very.
So you want to be able to connect with somebody that you truly, this person's touching your money. Like, you have to make sure that you trust them. So you, of all people, like, I'm in an industry with insurance that like, and trust, but you more so are like, I really have to trust. So that's
absolutely.
Awesome.
And
I'm glad you had that struggle though to get you here, right? You're like,
it was really like my struggle, and then again, like asking around my friends and who do you work with, who do you go to for financial advice, and a lot of my friends and colleagues were like, nobody. I tried and influencers, that's a whole other podcast conversation. People, sort of had two experiences. Either they had tried and feel like they failed to find a financial advisor or financial planner to work with. They had a bad experience, right? And that was my experience as well. Like, I did get introduced to some local people and went and had like really bad meetings that made me feel horrible. I felt shamed. I could tell the advisor didn't want to meet with me. Didn't make enough money. I wasn't like worth his time. And he was just like doing me a favor and, annoyed that I was on his calendar, and, treated me like I couldn't understand financial concepts, even though I was in finance and like had a successful career.
And sometimes you wonder, okay, is this because I'm female? Or is this because I'm, you know what I mean? Like, I'm young? Where are we going with this?
Or what? Right. So that was my experience. And that was a lot of my friends, I tried to meet with this guy and it was horrible. I wouldn't, I don't want to refer you to him. Or it was sort of the opposite, but related, that they're like, oh no, I wouldn't even try. I wouldn't even try to find someone who would meet with me. I don't make enough money. I'm ashamed. It's scary. I know they're it's not for me, you know, I'm excluded from that kind of conversation and that kind of help. So there was, you know, both camps gave me no direction, no options. So yeah, I really was just like, there's an opportunity here, in terms of there's not enough women and people, advisors in the industry who treat people in a different way than what the kind of industry standard is, very unfortunately. Yeah, so I, you know, saw that as an opportunity, and I, in the meantime, was just sort of teaching myself like basic financial planning concepts. I was like, no one's going to help me figure out how to pay off my student loans. Like, I'm just going to figure it out on my own. And I started buying real estate and things. So I kind of became the financial friend by like default of my friend group too. So yeah, so there was just, you know, like the universe does, kind of perfect timing of my experience and asking around and what I had already taught myself. And I was in finance, not in financial services, but in finance and different roles. And then I got laid off from a job, and that was like,
isn't it funny how the paths go? It's so crazy
so
when we look back.
Everything, of course, was perfect divine timing. I didn't know it then, but I can certainly see it now.
You never do when it happens.
I was like, what? You know, but I did, you know, the layoff was, and this was before a pandemic came. So I was like, this is my opportunity. The universe is just saying like, that you've been thinking about this, you see the opportunity, you got the big old boot out of your safe, cozy, salaried position. So just go for it. And so the rest is sort of history. Like I hit the ground running in founding Queen City, becoming a financial advisor, a licensed financial advisor.
Don't you love, I do that too. I'm like, no, I'm putting that in there. I am licensed. I'm a professional.
Yes.
Take me seriously here.
Many exams, many hours of studying, lots of credentialing, lots of making sure you are like legally providing the advice that we give, that's why I say talking about financial influencers or just what's on social media or the internet is a whole other topic, because there's a lot of unlicensed advice out there, which I find to be very detrimental to women and the communities that Queen City is particularly working with too. So some of them may mean well, but they're not licensed to be giving financial advice. And that's,
I'm right there with you. I see it like, all day long with insurance. I'm like,
I'm sure. So it's been great. And we're, like you said, we're headquartered in Denver, but work with clients across the country and really specialize in working with badass women of all different types of industries and business owners and executives and stay-at-home parents and everything sort of in between. We want to work with people who are values aligned to us, you know.
For sure. And I think a lot of people don't realize, you know, you just made a kind of a trigger word for me that like at the stay-at-home moms, I'm like, let me tell you, that job is worse than my job. And I get yelled at all the day by clients right now. I'm like, I respect the stay-at-home moms so much because I could never, ever do that. So I do a little bit of life insurance. I know you do a lot more of it, but I tell people all day, I'm like, you actually are the one that needs more life insurance. Can you imagine your husband loses you and now, or spouse, whatever it is, and you're the one that cooks, cleans, picks up the kids, manages all of your, you know, sometimes they're the ones that manage all the finances, coordinate all the things. I'm like, you know what? Women in general and moms are just badasses anyways. Yeah. So they have such a big value to them. I'm like, don't discredit that. They need the financing. They need the backup plan. They need it all.
Well, and we're very committed to the mission or the belief that everyone deserves a financial plan. And that is not just for wealthy people or a certain industry or, you know, I already have a certain amount of money, so an advisor will talk to me. As a new mother myself, I couldn't have underestimated more how hard it is. And I feel like I was expecting it to be really hard. And it's still like
that's why they say, you know, everybody who says I'm waiting to have kids until I can financially afford it. And I'm like, you're never going to be able to financially afford it. You just figure it out. There's no right
really
time.
Gonna be ready. Yeah. No. There's just nothing really to prepare you. You just get thrown in, right? So.
Yep. And it, like one of the other things I was actually talking to my mom, because daycare for two is disgustingly expensive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm counting down the days until they start kindergarten. And my mom's like, just to be clear, you won't have them in daycare, but now they're going to be in all the sports and things. So you're probably still going to have a very similar expense. I'm like,
You're like, oh, wait. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yes. I've heard that from many a parent too, because I have a baby. So we have childcare costs. Yes. Which is just insane. And so thinking about just one day they'll go to school. But lots, I hear that from quite a few friends and clients that like, it almost just gets worse and harder. Like
it does. And granted, to each their own, but my friend actually has, her stepdaughter does competitive cheer at 7 years old, and it's like $5,000. I was like, hold on.
Yeah. And you're like 7.
What? At 7? I'm like, oh my gosh. But the good news is I'm not against cheerleaders, but just being a basketball and a softball player, I'm like, but at the end of the day, the kid's going to do what the kid wants to do. So I'm like, okay, and from a savings standpoint, I tell my clients all day long, I'm like, the cost to insure kids when they turn 16 is a whole car payment. So I'm like, I started my savings account now to be able to afford 14 years down the road when they both get their license.
Yeah.
So it's like every milestone just like kind of like shoves you back down. So
the joys.
Oh, I know, right?
Yeah.
And I know that's a whole, we'll definitely go back down the motherhood, that because I'm sure you have some great advice on, even me, you're the best person to talk to because I hate financial stuff. It gives me a headache. I just want you to tell me I can spend my money. And from a business, I'm like, okay, am I bringing enough money in to do what I want to do, to spend what I want to spend, and just hope there's money in the bank account at the end? Yeah. I know that sounds terrible. I do know the bottom line, but I don't like to look at numbers. I want a professional. I've learned in my 40 years of time, it's taken me that long, to stay in my lane, know my weaknesses, know my strengths. I don't like to know the numbers. I'll do them, and I do it enough to give it to somebody to say, here's what you need to do. Right.
Yeah.
And I can't, it's just like, I don't even want to say his name on here. The really big financial guy who everybody knows, he like teaches you, like his people that buy into his program, how to invest themselves. And I'm like, but are you really savvy enough without going to school and being educated and just listening to what a book tells you to do?
Yeah.
On doing your finances? Like, that just doesn't seem right to me.
Yeah.
Even if you're taking a piece of the pie, it doesn't even seem right to me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of going back to like, I recommend you work with a licensed professional who people just in financial services and people who are in wealth management or financial planning. As a general statement, if you're out with podcasting, writing books, doing social media posts, like likely you aren't licensed, because the licenses that I hold, they're very strict on communication, like just blanket communication. Remember I told you when we were talking about this
that just clicked. That is
totally I'm going to need like a month or so. I have to go through compliance because of the licensing I have. What are you going to say? I can't just go on a podcast and say, okay, everybody listening, go buy this stock, right? That's financial advice that is inappropriate and unsuitable to give, because I don't know anything about the financial situation, the goals, risk tolerance, how much you understand about investing.
Everybody is different. Everybody has different circumstances.
So that's kind of what it boils down to, is everyone deserves a financial plan that is tailored to you. And everyone is so different in, of course, who we are, what we care about, our future goals, but also just like, what industry do you work in? How much money do you make? What's your tax bracket? How do you file your taxes? Are you a business owner or are you a W-2? What state do you live in, and what state laws apply to you? Like that is very particular there. It changes financial advice in many ways. And if
sure.
you're getting blanket advice from somebody writing a book or someone who posts on social media or just like putting blanket advice out onto the internet, it's not suitable for you because it doesn't know anything about your particular situation. So, so all like my personal feelings about that guy that you mentioned aside, like I really don't like him for a lot of who he is and the values that he has, because they're quite contrary to what I believe in. But
honestly, until you said that, I know he's not licensed in anything, especially in my industry, giving insurance advice as well. Although the one biased thing that I will agree is he does believe you should use an independent insurance agent. So that's the only thing I grasp onto. However, so I would argue that. And everybody needs a personal umbrella policy. Perfect. Boom. Those are the two things. That's it. However, it's interesting. I know he's not licensed in anything, which is one of my big hiccups on this, but I didn't until you just said that. I was like, no, you're totally right, because all of my friends that are financial advisors I have one friend here in town who can't even put on Facebook. And it's literally just pictures of his daughter. Nothing, even business related that has nothing to do with his business. I'm like, whew, you're right.
Yeah, so we're very heavily regulated, and it's all, to protect a client, the investor, a regular person. Right. But I just say caution people if, I very much believe like you do, like stay in your lane. Everyone's good at their thing, and doesn't mean I'm good at everything. Right. Or the experts in everything, even in my own business. Right. I have a team and someone who's better at operations than me or marketing than me. Right. So that is how I agree with that. In life as well as business. But
to me, time is money. Yeah. And time is money. And do you know how much research I would have to do just to know? It was funny. My husband loves this stuff. And I was like, oh, can you buy stock in Costco and Lululemon? Because I spend far too much money there. And I was like, I just want to say that I am. It could be completely the worst stocks to buy. I don't know. And I'm like, but I just want to look cool. I don't know. It sounds cool. Yeah. But point being is the amount of research I would have to do.
Yeah.
How much value do I put on my time?
If you do that much research, you just become a financial.
You should have just exactly, and you should have just hired somebody, and you could have done how many more things at home, how many more things for your business, how many more. That doesn't give me any joy. I just wanted to say I own stock in Lululemon. Well, I really want to touch something that's more of a trigger point to me is you have to start somewhere, right? Like I could be coming into this and have $1,000 in my savings account, barely surviving every day, but I feel everybody started at the bottom. You just touched on this on your story yourself. I want people to know that everybody needs financial advice, and it's okay to start when you have $5 in your bank account, right? Because you have to start somewhere. And if you don't have somebody to go to and I'm a big planner. I'm a big believer in goals and putting together a plan and having a process and steps to get there. So I want people to feel comfortable. I feel like it's almost taboo for women particularly, but just in general, people talking about their finances, right? Yeah. So I feel like that's why when I met with you for the first time, I was like, no, we need to talk about this. This is a topic that people need to feel not ashamed of, that everybody's been where you're at, and there's a million other people in the same boat that you're at, but you need somebody to talk to. You still need to go to a licensed financial advisor because you have to put a plan in place. So I'd like you to touch on that with even your experience, but let's just kind of open that door a little bit, because I do think that is a big issue right now, and kind of honestly what's holding a lot of women back from whether going into their own business and opening their own business, working themselves up the corporate ladder, whatever it may be.
Yeah. It's a big reason that I got into financial services and founded Queen City. And I'm trying to provide a different experience for financial planning and meeting with a financial advisor than sort of what's typical of our industry, because there's so much like financial trauma or baggage or emotion, right, that exists. Everyone has a background. Everyone had, experiences in their past, their family, or whoever they, grew up with, or the situation they grew up in, like shaped your beliefs about money in some way. That I hate it, that I'm scared of it, I don't want to open my bank account ever, that I believe I don't deserve it, I shouldn't earn money, or if I do want to work my way up a corporate ladder, I'm greedy, anything. Or some of certainly some of those can be positive too, of like, I'm, very motivated and I want to have a certain lifestyle, or I want to be able to, have a different, provide my kids with a different childhood than I did, right? Or different goals or opportunities. So that is just not kind of honored very much in like the differences and how we feel about them, and how we grew up, and those things that shaped how we feel or manage or think about money today as adults. How do those translate into like our decision making, or how we even understand financial concept, right? How's it explained to us actually? Because everyone learns differently, right? So we're trying to, understand that and come from a place that, yes, I agree, everyone deserves a financial plan, and really you need to have one. It is very unlikely you'll wake up one day and be like, oh, I have enough money to buy that dream house. Like, look at that, right? Like without a plan. That would be
awesome though, just saying.
Or you wake up when you're 65 years old and you're like, oh, great, I could retire. That doesn't happen. And that's not the way most goals are achieved, financial or other, right? Yet, like you said, you need a plan, understand the steps it takes to get there. The kind of detriment with a lot of financial goals is that they are long-term and they're delayed gratification, right? I'm thinking about retirement, which is 20, 30, 40 years away. Whereas something that might be detrimental financially to me is instant gratification. And that's kind of the world that we live in, of like, well, I could just go buy a pair of shoes today though, and have that pair of shoes. And I've been coveting them. I've gotten the Instagram ads for them. And then I can go take a photo of them and put them on Instagram and show everyone I got these
target
shoes,
you.
Right. Yeah. Well, oh my God, they totally target you. It's crazy.
Yes.
So that's that instant gratification. And the world we live in is instant. So we try to help our clients like understand financial goals aren't generally instant gratification. No one's giving you a bunch of Instagram likes when you save money into your 401k, or you hit your emergency fund goal. Usually, hopefully we can kind of change that culture, but that's not usually something that like people celebrate, right? It's actually lots of the goals that can be financially detrimental. I went on this amazing vacation and I couldn't afford it, but I posted a bunch
I was literally, it's funny that you said that. I was literally just going to interject because I'm going to say, you're also going up against the social media, mindset comparison game, right? And you know what? The people that you're watching go on all those trips could be hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. And you could have hundreds of thousands. And you know what? You'd be fast forward, again, not the instant gratification, but you hit 60 years old, you're hanging up and retiring and now living your best life. And they're Walmart greeters until they're 80. Not that there's anything wrong with Walmart greeters, but they're working until they're 82 because they can't afford it.
Right.
And it's so hard right now to not play the comparison game and staying focused in what your goals are and not wanting to go on that trip because, so-and-so just did and lived that lavish lifestyle.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of financial planning is, yes, let's plan for your future goals. And some of them are long-term, and that you're not going to get the instant gratification later today. Like something else could give you going to buy a pair of shoes, posting on social media, just ordering dinner because I'm tired instead of cooking. Right. Man, I just lost my train of thought. Was it? Oh, but also we're very committed at Queen City to we understand you're also alive now, right? And people are.
You still need to enjoy your life. Yeah. So let's do these little buckets.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's maybe another fear or hurdle for some people to talk to financial advisors. Like, I don't want to go talk to you because you're just going to tell me to stop spending money and save it all. And it's like,
exactly.
I'm going to show you.
That's a valid point. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
which is like, I believe you should live your life now too. I mean, I go on vacation with my family, like, I go buy shoes, whatever.
Yeah.
But
you shouldn't feel shamed because you are spending.
There's a balance.
Yeah.
And our goal, right, as a planner is to show you like, this is your future goal. Here's how you get there. Living your life along the way, of course. And if it is impossible to get to this future goal with the means you have today, how can we change that? Do we change your situation today by spending less, or earning more money or something like that? Or do you change your future goal too? So it's not our job to put the goals in your mouth, right? Like that's your life to live. And you generally, there's a saying that maybe I don't love it, but it says, you can have whatever you want, just like not everything at once, right? So it's like, generally can't live your most lavish lifestyle and spend every single dollar that you make today and retire at 50 and on your yacht and all that too. Most people probably are not in that situation. So,
right. I don't know about you. I'm buying my yacht tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, and maybe you're in a financial position to do that. I certainly meet with clients who I'm like, you're fine. You have plenty. One of my goals is going to be to help you feel comfortable spending more money.
Isn't that another issue? The people that have plenty, right? Like it's never enough, right? I know somebody who has, like they stress out when their checking account, and I'm talking checking account goes below like 50 grand. I'm like,
okay. You're like, well, that's just a lot of time, another, result of how somebody grew up in childhood. And I have clients, I can think of a number right now, just as we talk, that, didn't grow up with much, or like we kind of struggled, growing up. I saw my parents work so hard, or, I had a single parent situation, and like there's never enough. And I felt, even as a child, like stress about money. And now I make really good money in my career. I have plenty. You're showing me how I'm going to be so wealthy in the future with this future trajectory I'm on. And I feel so guilty about that. And because I grew up with not being able to have enough, I have like the scarcity mindset to like, it could all disappear tomorrow, or, but I've never had enough before. So let me like kind of hold on to it, hoard it, but not in like the greedy hoarding sense of just like, it's scary. I'm scared still. So we see, again, like how people operate as adults and think about money, manage their money, feel about money, in all different ways, like depending on what your, background or childhood or past was. And there's the behavior as an adult can be different for everybody, depending on how you really are
a therapist in your trainings and education, right? Because you have to uncover that, because if you don't, there's nothing that's going to change in the planning process, right? Because it's just going to keep, coming back as far as, you have to address the situation and work through it. Otherwise, nothing's going to change.
Yeah. And now there's definitely times I've been like, well, this conversation is like into mental health therapy territory, and I am not licensed for that.
Like, whoa.
But yeah, it's what I hope is that people going through a kind, empathetic, respectful, and comprehensive financial planning process helps you work through some of those feelings too, that, maybe a therapist isn't required for, but like, wow, just talking about this makes me feel so much better. Or having somebody who I trust and relate to and feel respected by giving me some advice around my debt situation is a huge weight off my shoulders, right? That I've been like carrying around, burdened by for all this time. So that's our hope, that everyone feels more empowered through the process, because they're getting treated the way that they deserve to be treated, getting educated, that, man, I've always wondered what people mean when they say this account. And I felt I couldn't ask anybody, because I didn't, I felt like I should know, and everyone else knows, and I didn't know who. So it's like, even learning, basic financial concepts, which pretty much nobody knows, because we have no financial literacy or education in this country, like for teenagers or kids, or even in college.
Well, I was going to say, it's mind-blowing. You go to college and you're like, open this to get a free t-shirt. Yes. I think they went away with that. But when I was in college, it was, Oh,
open
okay.
this
I want a
credit
free
card. Yeah.
t-shirt.
Super predatory. Yeah. Well, we can liken that to student loans. I mean,
Yeah,
I know,
yeah.
college is a big goal. It is a very big deal to lots of people, and it is life
Mhm.
changing to lots of people and lots of families or communities. So I'm not discounting higher education at all. But the fact that at 17 or 18 years old, everyone is just totally fine with 17 or 18-year-olds like signing on the dotted line for tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt
Mhm.
when people do not understand how that debt works, what the possible repayment is going to be. I mean, people really don't understand how a loan works, how interest
Nope.
rates work, anything.
Yep.
That young people are so burdened by not even young people, older
Yeah.
people too, are
Yeah.
still so burdened by student loans. And it is a huge, the fact that we don't have any education about how those work, and it's just like expected that everyone signs up for student loans and like deals with them later, when it's like you
Mhm.
could be dealing with them into
Yeah.
retirement, or like your
Yeah.
example, somebody literally can't retire because they're still paying off
Yeah.
student loans in the older
I
age.
have two parts to that. One of them being, it was, gosh, I think it was Susie Orman way back, like 15, 20
Mm-hmm.
years ago. This has always stood out to me. I think it was the Oprah show that she was on or something. And to me, it was it's practical too. Like, it's realistic is probably the better word when it comes to college. This husband and wife were on the show, this mom and dad, and they had like two girls that were within a year of each other. They were both sophomore and junior in high school, and they had like, they were giving their situation, and they had like, 80 or 90 grand saved up, trying to figure out, and both of them were accepted or wanting to go to an Ivy League school, right? Like, they had these big ones that you're going to be like 300-400 grand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Susie turned to him and was like, well, what do you want to be? Like, what do you want to study? And they both wanted to be teachers.
Yeah.
Like, she lost her ever-loving mind. She was like, no, you're not going to an Ivy League school out of state and go $500,000 in debt to then work and make 50 grand a year. Like, that makes no sense. But I'm like, would they, and everything's on TV, so you never know what's staged and what's not. But if that was a real life situation, that family would have been in massive trouble.
Yeah.
Like, who was there to teach them? Who was there to say, that's probably not the best school choice if you're doing that route?
College and lots of other things in life, but that it's it's like romanticized almost. Well,
yes.
You got in an Ivy League, how could you not go?
True.
Like, it doesn't matter. I don't think anyone asked me when I was that age deciding what college to go to, what I wanted to be. It was like, you want to show off that you got into a particular school.
Mm-hmm.
No one and everyone, just the money is secondary. How much it costs is secondary. What are you getting out of that, right? Like, generally we want to think about debt and saying yes to debt because there is an asset attached to it now or in the future.
Yeah.
So what is the asset attached to student loans? Hopefully a degree that some of the promises, like, well, you'll make money, that your future career, right? Well, it's like, if your future career is not a high paying career, or which is totally fine, then the asset doesn't outweigh the debt that you're taking, the liability, right? So
and the way you just explained it makes total sense. Like, but how do you teach that? And even just to young parents too. And it's not even the high school kids, because the high school kids, most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, have a parent of some sort or a counselor of some sort that is helping make these decisions, right? And sometimes they don't know that, they don't. And let's be honest, how many times, I would be curious to pull up a stat, how many times do freshmen in college change their majors and change their decision?
Exactly. I have 2 degrees that, like, we're not free.
No.
That I like. I liked going to college. I loved my grad school experience. I learned a lot, but in my role today as a financial advisor, I don't need either of those. Like, it's not required for me to have either of those degrees to run the business that I run now,
Yeah.
or have the credentialing that I have now. So, it was part of my path, and I understand that. And, but yeah, those are all things to consider. And I think when I say it's like college is romanticized, like very much at the parent level too, or the counselor level too, or just the community level too. It's not only the student. I mean, I, as a new parent myself, can imagine like the pride a parent has at age 18 when your kid got into an Ivy League and you go tell everyone that. And you're just like, I don't want to take away the opportunity for my kid or myself because, well, it's so expensive though, like Ivy League, but it's an Ivy League. And so, and it's like,
how can you say no?
Right. Yeah. And that's like even like the social pressure of it. How could you ever say no if you got into this school or that school? And like, and, as for parents and other caregivers, it's like the expectation is that your kid goes to college and you figure it out. You figure out how to give them that dream and like the experience of college and everything. And, the money is after. So lots of people don't save for retirement, or they put their own goals on the shelf in order to pay for college, or co-sign student loans for their kid, and then everyone is burdened with this, right. And with the liability of it. So it's just a huge issue. I mean, we could talk about it for so long, but it's,
the other point kind of that I think it's more of a parent thing, to be honest, or a caregiver, because I think you're right. You're 17 and 18. You shouldn't be making these decisions. You really shouldn't. However, I will tell you, I actually speak. My best friend's husband is a teacher at a private Christian school in Oregon. And I think every year now for, I almost want to say 4 or 5 years, I flew up there before COVID hit, but then when COVID hit, I actually do it via Zoom, but I like to go, take a trip up there anyways. But he actually, I love the course that he teaches. And I think every school should have this. It goes back, it kind of probably dates us a little bit, but the home ec, we don't really need to know how to boil water. Well, I mean, little things like that. We should learn how to boil water. There's little things nowadays in today's society. I'm like, wait, you don't know how to do that? That you should have taught. But what I think is home ec should be modernized. And that's what he does. He talks in his course. So in his class, I come in and talk to 15, 16, 17-year-olds about insurance, about auto insurance. He talks to them about buying a car, what an interest rate, exactly what you said. He then goes in, there's different stages. So he brings a professional in. So I chit chat about auto and home insurance and, what you need to do. I briefly touch on life insurance, and it's amazing to me. I'm like, why is this not in every single school? And he even points out and does all of this planning about college, what it really costs. And I'm glad he's doing it to the high school students, but he really should be doing it for parents. But at least it's getting hit. And I'm like, every school should have this.
Yeah.
It should be the modern day home ec.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like basic financial knowledge. Yeah. Like, how does a loan work? How do different types of interest work, right? There's kinds of interest out there. Yeah.
Yes, and there are.
And I mean, it needs to happen at that age and that level, because people start making financial decisions. I mean, even younger than that, people are. So having some kind of education around it, and not that the education is just like, well, everyone else I know has a $500 a month car payment, so like it must be fine. Like, and I just say that as just like a sample number, but that's probably a lot of money for a lot of people to like just sign up for, to have a flashy car, like, or any car, right?
I was gonna say, well, actually, I think the average I just heard was like $750 a month right now for the average car payment in the US. I'm like,
wow, yeah. So, which is for some people totally fine and in their budget, and they, are handling the rest of their financial obligations and goals. And for some people, that is way too much, and like you should have never signed up. The fact that like obviously the dealership or the lender is happy to give you a loan, right? Like they don't care about you and your financial well-being. They're trying to sell you something and make their own money. so I think it's wonderful for anyone to get educated basically on any financial concept. The younger, the better, right? Before people basically make a mistake without knowing it, right? They're like,
Sure.
I got myself into this situation. I don't even know how. I didn't even know anything, right? Everyone told me to take student loans and go to an Ivy League, so I just did it, right? And have no idea what the repercussion of that is, so.
For sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Power one family at a time, right?
Yes.
One. I totally agree. And is there any, kind of maybe circling back to, we talked a lot about education, but circling back to maybe touching on, just any industry really, but stay-at-home moms, anybody who doesn't feel like they need the backbone. Do you have any advice or anything to help steer them who don't think they're, they should have a financial planner because they don't have money in the bank account? What can you help advise to be no, you matter and you have to start somewhere?
Yeah, well, those are great words. You matter, and everyone deserves to have a financial plan and feel good about money, whatever that means to you. And you don't have to go through your whole life, feeling ashamed and broke and stressed and I will never achieve this goal or that's not for me. That's for another person or in a different situation, right? Feeling you have to take the initiative to change that for yourself. And if that initiative is just being brave one moment and making a phone call or hitting send on a email or booking a meeting with somebody, right? There's lots of financial advisors, more and more out there like me who want to meet with people exactly in that position. That
licensed financial advisors.
Yes,
make sure you look for the licensure.
Which is a real thing, and you can check who's licensed and registered to actually manage assets and give financial advice online. There's lots of ways to do that. But you deserve to meet with professionals who treat you with respect and you relate to, right? And there's somebody who's a perfect fit for you, who's excited to work with you too. And that is, I would say, just have the moment of bravery to change your own life. Good. All it is a phone call or being brave and coming to that first meeting. And I've, been told that a lot with people who are like, God, I was dreading this meeting and it wasn't that bad. It's
never as bad as it seems. You just got to get there, right? You just got to get into it.
So you get connected to the right person. So we're always, of course, at Queen City Wealth are happy to talk to anybody. And, if we're not the right fit for whatever reason, I know lots of other people. I'm very glad to give referrals and make connections. I believe in that very, very much, especially for women. We have to be in community together and support each other in our businesses.
Build each other up.
Ashley knows that, yes. I would say have your moment of bravery because you're changing your own life, your own situation.
You're changing the trajectory of your life, and you can make something of yourself for sure. And the confidence comes too as you actually start to see it work. It doesn't happen overnight. Like you said, it's not instant gratification, and it's kind of cool to see it, I would have never thought I could be in the home I'm in now 10 years ago. Never. It's crazy. And so it's just it's cool to kind of see it working. And then you can always look back and go, I did this. Yeah. I got there. Might have taken longer, might have taken shorter. Doesn't matter because I got to where I'm going. You know? Yeah.
Well, and I say that a lot because I understand how a delayed gratification goal, a longer term financial goal is hard to keep your eye on, right? When you're like, okay, I know I need to be saving money because I want to become a homeowner one day, but I had a long day and I'm just going to go out to dinner. I'm going to treat myself. I'm like, trust me, the day you open the front door to the home you own is going to taste way better than whatever takeout you're going to buy tonight. Eyes on the prize. Remember those things, right? So, again, not that we are recommending everyone eats ramen and doesn't ever spend $1 in their life, but yes, you can. It's your prerogative, your decision. You're in charge of your life, and can make little moments of bravery that literally change the rest of your future and of course, by default, your family, your community, generational wealth, all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to, all of your contact information is going to be in the podcast notes.
Perfect.
We'll have, can you be on social media or no?
I can. So
okay.
Queen City Wealth has an Instagram.
Sweet. Okay. Awesome.
Compliant.
Yay.
So at Queen City Wealth on Instagram.
Perfect.
And then our, link to there to get in touch with us or to visit our website too. So
in all 50 states. So anybody wants to reach out, please do. I am so excited to just continue supporting you and our community and really pushing, just women and giving them that extra support because you know what, we can do it. And we are extremely important in our roles in everything. And so just making us even more educated on things just makes us even more powerful is
so,
the way I believe it.
So much. Like we can't even explain how powerful it is, right? To understand, be financially empowered, build wealth, right? It opens up the entire world for anything you want in your life and for yourself or your family or people you care about or anything. So
absolutely. Well, thank you for coming on. Appreciate it. And I've learned a lot too. I've loved listening to your story and definitely inspired by that. So I hope that we continue to just support one another, and that's what we're here for. So thank you for coming on.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Yes.
Okay.
Thanks for listening. I'm your host, Ashley Mastowski. Tune in next time for more inspiration and stories from women who've made an impact. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Special shout out to Little Dog Social Media for making all of this come together.